Hello there. Hi. 1, 2, 3. Let me do this. Boom, boom, boom. Good morning, or well, good morning. Those in America, it's good morning. Those of you who are here in Europe, good afternoon. Hi there, ho there, hello there, everyone. Hey, it is the Friday live stream with the new camera. All right, this is the. I'm using my university computer, which I shouldn't be using that. I don't like using my university computer. Why is because, well, we've had problems. I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I mentioned last week about the computer disaster. I had a disaster. My computer died. My desktop that I love working with you guys here and working on it, before working on the work. It was like it was just dying. It was just slow operating speed death. I bought a replacement, but the replacement was far worse than the old computer. It was like, so I sent the replacement back. We got the money like this Tuesday. We got the money back. My wife contacted a friend's husband who works in a computer repair shop. They took the computer to be repaired. Voila, it's being kind of upgraded. It's getting a new RAM, getting a new hard drive. The old hard drive, it's and actually it's cheaper than the new computer. Of course, the new computer. I also got a new tablet because my tablet was because my wonderful little tablet I love. It's Android 6, and all the programs are being killed off it. So I can't use it. Skype died. Even YouTube died. I still like it. It's great. It still works, what I want it to do. But I bought a new thing. It was a little. I thought I bought the same size, but it was a little bigger. It was 11-inch. Again, I like Samsung. I don't like Huawei and other things, so I got this, and I'm kind of a little annoyed because it's too big. It's awkward. I bought a keyboard for it. I bought a cover for it that I chickened out and said for 100 zloty more. I bought a new cover. I bought it for 100 zloty. I bought a new cover with a keyboard in it. A Bluetooth keyboard that I've been playing around for a couple of days with. It's actually pretty interesting to have kind of a mini computer on it, a tab. It's a Chromebook, right? But it's. So I was like, okay, whatever. But it's still I'm still not used to using it as my to-go my to-go, not laptop, but to-go thing. I tried doing something last week. I was going to try to use it as doing a recording on this, but I chickened out because at first it was wanting to do it as I didn't know how to do it right at that time because hold on. Okay, so I need to kill Skype. There, I apologize. That was just the random call to my spam call I get. What about this? So I got computer problems. That's been the big thing. And we had started new semester. The Monday began the new semester, both for Norwich and for Warsaw University. I have 5 classes. My Monday it's Monday and Tuesday schedule, so it's very weird. Monday, I have my introduction to politics course in the morning at 1 o'clock, 1-ish, and then at 3-ish, I have my class on American federalism. I think federalism was later, yeah. And let me be honest, I thought my first class was so. I didn't. I'd be critical of myself. I thought my federalism class, I needs to be a little better. I need to spend a little time this weekend just preparing it for it. I have to. They have everything. The course material. I have to add some stuff. Kind of like I have to spend some time on that. I'll do it. We'll see what happens. Today I did a couple recordings for my using this setup for my Machiavelli discourses recording. I did just a couple. I'm going to try a couple more. I'm hoping to get my new computer ready. Do it on the new computer, but new computer isn't arrived yet. Apparently, I'm Mr. Greenglass. A new computer is supposed to arrive on. They said Monday. We'll see what happens. So that's the nature of dealing with these things. Right? Frustrating. So I just wasted a couple of time, 5 minutes, talk about bullshit school stuff. I told you the classes went. We'll see how they went. My seminar students, and I have like two students from the Ghost students who should have finished last year are returning to finish this year. So I have three students. One submit her paper, and I'm going to have to tell her that her introduction stunk. She's going to have to rewrite the introduction. It's just whatever. So that is the nature of what's going on. What else? News. Okay, it's just crazy. Like we talk about. I was most of this week. I was kind of recovering. I was supposed to go to a meeting on. The meeting for a class thing, but I was so not feeling under the weather. In fact, yesterday I had to go to the doctor, to get blood work done. And the doctor said, "Oh, your blood work's a little." I said, "Well, I've been lucky." So we'll see how that goes. Now, Green Glass asked me about what my thoughts on potential of Kash Patel. I think Patel will be a very powerful reformer. He might clean house and might be a very important person to restore credibility of the FBI, save it, clean house of the damage that has been done, honestly, for the past since the Clinton era. The politicization started in the Clinton era. The corruption of the FBI is the political corruption of it into a tool of the bureaucratic entities. Starting with the Clinton era, it got worse and worse, and then during the Obama era, it became weaponized to a great degree. To target, enemies of the Democrats, and then when Trump became president, they targeted the existing president. I think I think Patel will clean house. That's why they're terrified. All the corrupt FBI guys are just terrified of what's going to happen. And, that's also been the fun of watching, Musk's revelations through Dodge, the Department of Government of Efficiency. Just they are just the light all the the light being shined on government spending and government programs, and the massive political fraud and manipulation and graft and political corruption that this is happening and is revealing, is shocking people. And the Democrats are just in complete panic mode. Schiff is going to be a lot of trouble. Adam Schiff and Anna Kenninger and a couple other congressmen are going to be in trouble. I just heard, the prosecutors are going to be started going after them for what's happening is going to be even more scandalous about what recent charges. Ilhan Omar might be facing criminal charges for student loan fraud and government fraud. This is going to be, you're going to have an AG who is going to, prosecute. It's not political prosecution as was then. It was that these people are engaged in real crimes, not pseudo crimes, not crimes created because you discover a crime because we don't like him. These people, the Democrats have been, you have to look at these Democrats and how they became millionaires, and then you see they became millionaires through public service. They use their offices to enrich themselves and their friends, and they did so with things like USAID and grants and government money, programs that aided their allies and friends. It is, and the revelations and the cuts, because the revelations of them and the cutting of those programs is going to just decimate the Democratic political class. It's going to decimate the political class of the Democratic Party, the Democrats, for 20 years. We're going to impoverish a whole bunch of Democrats. Wonderful. A bunch of middle class, rich people who've been making six-figure salaries, living on the public tip, are now having their little, that the example of that British conservative, so-called conservative politician, Rory, I forget his last, who was kind of upset with Vice President Vance about talking about being unchristian by trying to get out immigrants. Well, apparently his wife, Rory's wife, was a USAID grantor. Doing what? Modern art and teaching modern art in Afghanistan among them Afghan. And you want to know why we lost Afghanistan? When you're spending instead of spending money on such crap, like what was discovered is all these programs, actually harms American interests. Not helps, harms American interests. And because why? Because when these tribal peoples, these people look at America, great Satan, America, evil, Satan, destroy, must jihad. Why? Because, when you have these feminist whack jobs and democratic activists and whatever other kind of LBGTQ plus activist on the pub, and then having the State Department put the pride flag up and all that kind of nonsense. You don't think this is a people look at this and say, I don't want that. That's bad. America's an enemy of us. So, and another thing is, last Friday I did my thing. Vance was giving his speech in Munich, and that was a great barn burner of a speech. Talking to the basically the security conference in Munich about basically showing that the issue of security was not about NATO per se and foreign threats, but also the internal threats, which are not the internal threat that they think. It's the I mean, this is the thing. This is something I remember at the debate. I was on Polish television, and this woman NGO talking about values, and I felt like saying to her, I challenged her that she was funded by NGOs and billionaires. I should have also. I didn't realize that she was funded by our tax money. I mean, the scandal in Polish government recently about USAID funding very pro-PO, pro-civic platform, even radical groups like Critical Politician, which is basically left-wing Marxists, radical Marxists, real hardcore radicals. These are funded by USAID. These organizations, but funded. Why? Organizations that basically preach neo-leftist ideology, which is antithetical to American values. You're funding it. It's no. I can understand doing that in the Cold War, funding liberals in order to kind of challenge the communists and funding moderates. But now, hell no. This is not needed. That these people are the problem, not an ally against the greater problem. Do you see the end of the Ukraine war? And I think it's going to happen. The end. Everyone's tired of it, and I think I think everyone is tired of it, and it's not going to. The Ukrainians don't. I mean, I get in trouble when I say this. The Ukrainians don't have the stomach. Neither does Zelensky have the stomach to draft. They're just not drafting the 18 and 25-year-olds. They're not. They're letting them come over here. I see so many friggin' Ukrainian combat-aged adults who are in Polish and other universities getting funded by the Europeans. They're here on European money. They're not paying their own way. They're coming and being funded at Polish taxpayers' expenses. And what happens is that why aren't they? If they really love their country, why aren't they going to fight for their country? I said this. I've uncomfortably suggested that they should not be here. Now, no, I don't. I think drones made traditional warfare weird. No, it just made it. Drones are nothing more than a new version of artillery. Artillery always made warfare horrible and that stuff. It is just made it. You have to know how to do it. And you have to have counter responses and fight. It is basically that you need to have better anti-drone activities, and they're still not. This is while the Ukrainians have done a lot of good. Both sides are kind of actually, honestly, I think both the Ukrainians and the Russians are still kind of amateurs in the sense that they've done a lot on this. Okay, we have to admit this, and that the U.S. tends to overkill these things, overspend and overdevelop. But we'll see. I think drones is still important, but there are mechanisms by which infantry can take out drones. It's not drones are not the inevitable invincible thing. Bad weather, it's that these things are some bad weather makes it. You can't. Bad weather was always the infantryman's friend in that sense. I think this is why you were going to look at the thing, but I think the Ukraine war will end on a very strange deal. It's not going to be. It has to be something that the Russians will agree to. Something. This is going to piss everyone else off. But if we can get a good deal, if there can be a solution where at least an independent Ukraine outside of NATO, because I don't think you can get, Russia will never tolerate it being in NATO, but you can have security guarantees. This is why the mineral deal was very important. I think once Zelensky was very short-sighted to kind of try to do what he did, and then with pulling out the deal, he behaved very badly. That's why I think this is why, Trump's comment. People saying Trump is saying that Zelensky started the war. That's right. That comment is really more complicated. I think Trump is so angry at Zelensky's behavior of the two-faced nation of Zelensky right now during the negotiations, that he's saying one thing to them and then saying another thing in public, just pissed him off. So he wanted to hit him back and slap him to show him that, you want to play the game. I'm going to show you how mad you want to talk behind my back and do like that. I can make you the bad guy very easily. And that actually may up his ability to get Trump. In other words, by him dissing, in many ways, by him dissing Zelensky, this may allow him to play Russia more, and that get concessions from Russia, get Russia to make a concession that they weren't willing to necessarily give. Okay, I think this is anyone who knows negotiating strategy. This is the way you have to. If you're seen as that guy's ally, then of course, then the other side is going to be seen as that way. Now the Ukrainians going to be looking at this. Oh, they're betraying us, Nonsense. It's not betrayal. This is simply that Ukraine has been acting kind of really shitty. Zelensky particularly, he's nasty. And like Rubio's interview, I forget with her, it's on X. Rubio interviewed with someone from a Heritage Foundation. It was excellent interview. Where he talked about, I think he explains why Trump is so angry with Zelensky, because Zelensky talked behind, said one thing at the meeting and then publicly said the completely opposite thing, and it was just outrageous. That it was like ridiculous, and that Zelensky himself, is a dictator. No, in the sense of this, his term of office ended. And instead of holding elections, he opted not to. He's banned of course, yes. Was it reasonable? Was it kind of reasonable to ban pro-Russian parties? Okay, yes. That is reason. I'm not going to say that that's not an unreasonable thing. Abraham Lincoln arrested pro-Confederate party like that in the United States. But at least Abraham Lincoln had a bloody election. America, in its Civil War, still held an election. That he cannot hold an election is unwilling to hold it. Well, but the problem about this is the most. The Ukrainian Constitution does not allow there to be an election when the regime is in martial law, and the regime is in martial law because of the war. Therefore, because of the war, I can't hold an election. That is, that's bad faith. There needs to be an election simply for democratic legitimacy. And I suspect a lot of this is, and also on the anti, on the MAGA side, there's a lot of stupidness about this. There's a misunderstanding of what happened with Maiden, this idea that it's a big CIA, liberal CIA plot to, that is equally problematic. I've been teaching here for like over 20 years now, over 20 years, 25, since 99. I've had thousands of Ukrainian students. A number of them have gone back, and majority of them has gone back. Some stayed in Europe, but a lot of them, a good number of them were involved in the Maiden. They weren't CIA backed. I've always argued that, people give the CIA too much credit. It's an incompetent. It has always been a over-bragged about agency that really has done very little, accomplished very little in that sense, and got most things wrong. And in fact, that famous joke that Kendall used to joke about, you always knew a CIA operation by the fact that everyone but the target was killed. That is always the joke about the CIA. The CIA, that the idea that Victoria Nolan caused the revolution in Ukraine, Maiden, is just laughable. It was happening because we forget that Yanukovych Yanukovych promised. He won in the was it 2014? I think 2012, maybe 2012. The 2012 election. Yeah, no. Is it 2012 or 2010? I forget. 2011, 2012 election. Because it was like, I forget the year. But it was he won against the guy who's the other Yukovich, the other Yukovich, the Orange Revolution guy who got burnt. He got poisoned, and he almost died, but his face was scarred because of the poison. Yanukovych defeated him. One, because of the Russian vote in the East, yes, but also because the Orange forces of the Orange Revolution was divided by the president and Julia Tymoshenko, and also the nationalist forces, the Ukrainian nationalists of the Krichku brothers and those guys. These Tymoshenko and those were fighting with each other, and that this was and the EU was not happy with the negotiation and reforms. Reforms weren't going about any kind of things, and that the Ukrainian political class just basically engaged in more corruption. They were like any post-Soviet system. They were the apparatchiks, or the political elites, were always trying to grab something for themselves. They're patrimonial in that sense. And what happened was that the party of the regions ran a party. Yes, they were getting help by Russia, but they ran as arguing that they would negotiate. They do a better job negotiating with the EU than the current government won, and they won enough of the youth vote who wanted to get part of the EU. And actually, you have to remember what Maidan was about. Maidan was when Yanukovych broke his promise with the voters and pulled out of the agreement with the EU and opted to make a stronger deal with Moscow. And this is what led to the protests, and then led trying to keep control. Yanukovych brought in security forces from Russia, Spetsnaz from Russia. This is I have enough people. I know enough people on my side. Oh, they brought in Israelis. Bullshit. They were Spetsnaz. They were Spetsnaz. They were not Israeli. That anyone who says they're Israelis are, they have Jew on the brain. No, they were Spetsnaz units, and they used tactical Spetsnaz tactics. And they were afraid to get caught. They were mostly tied to former Spetsnaz, tied to Wagner. It was, and like all mercenaries, once the shit hits the fan, they try to save themselves. Yanukovych, catching that there was a coup, didn't want to suffer the fate of what happened in Romania. Ceausescu took the cash and ran to Moscow. And what happened was then the parliament moved to do things, formalize the thing. They held an election, and they elected the chocolate guy, Punchenko. I can't remember the guy's name. Punchenko was that. Now, anyone who says, and I see this among people on this side, on the anti, the people critical of Ukraine, saying that Zelensky was a CIA hack. He's part of. He was put in charge by the coup it made. No. Remember, Zelensky is a much more problematic figure in that sense, because he ran against the president Poroshenko. See, the Poroshenko guy and the Maidan, the pro-Maidan political reality, repeated the same problems that much of what the Orange Revolution had, is the corruption, the wide-scale political corruption of the Ukrainian oligarchs in the upper class, which were mostly ethnic Russians. You have to understand that this was a conflict between The Soviet era, the political elites, the upper echelon of instruments of control and power were given to ethnic Russians. This was the same thing in Yugoslavia, where the Serbs were given the privileged, high-level controlled positions. Yes, it was other parties and other people. The party had other groups, but in Russia, this is why Ukrainian nationalism, the Russian Eastern part, and even the Ukrainians who are ethnically Ukrainian but Russian speakers are a little less. But you have to remember there's a strong ethnic Russian population too. Now, those ethnic Russians, particularly the young anyone under 30, doesn't want to be part of Russia. Okay. Who's more corrupt, Ukraine or Russia? Russia. It's a close. They're close, but the difference is Russia is more controlled. Now, I can envision Zelensky wants to be like Putin in terms of his. Zelensky and any of the elites want to. They'll use war powers to centralize their political power and patrimonializing their interests in their political power and eliminate our opponents. That is the tendency of these kind of oligarchic, kleptocratic oligarchic orders, to eliminate your competition. So the question is, who worse? I don't know. I'm just, again, this is a very complicated problem. I think we have to go back to Zelensky. Zelensky was seen as a Russian asset. When he wins in 2018, 2019, we have to remember it was Moscow. He was seen as pro-Russian. He was seen as a pro-Russian force. It was his voter base was a significant voting outcomes were from the ethnic Russian and Russian language speaking communities. He himself is a Russian, even though he's Jewish, he was an ethnic Russian speaker. Okay, he's not ethnic Russian, but he was Russian language speaker. Okay, and not a nationalist. The Ukrainian nationalists were highly suspect of him. They were very suspect. They didn't like it. He was a comedian. He was a liberal. He was seen as now he gets a stick because he ran a TV show that was criticizing ordinary guy who would become president by challenging corruption. So this TV character became the reality in that. And I think this was this was a pure he was a product of Russian election gaming. The Russians engage in election. They attempt to create havoc and chaos and get their interests through the way they interfere. Everyone's doing. Every regime does this in that sense. So the Russians did this. The question then becomes, I can understand why Putin is furious with Zelensky, because Putin made Zelensky in many ways. Well, yeah, cold. I mean, he didn't. I think this is why all the intelligence agencies thought that Putin was going to romper stomp. This is why all the intelligence agencies in 2022 thought that Moscow was going to romper stomp the Ukrainians so swiftly. It was going to be a coup d'etat, a very quick coup d'etat. Because they feared Zelensky was an inside agent in that sense. The fact that the Biden administration cut off all aid and undoing much of Trump's assistance programs of weapons and equipment and training stopped it for almost a half a year. Only to institute it last minute, to return it to last minute, but and no one really thought that was going to get, they thought it was going to be a last minute moment, and they thought it was not. and they were able to hold off only by luck in that sense. And Zelensky we have to give him credit. The Zelensky of that period is a heroic entity, but we have to distinguish between that moment in time and now. That moment in time is long gone, and what was acceptable then is not acceptable now. I'm not going to talk about the Iranian. I have the Iranian regime is going to be a bigger problem, and it's going to be they have their own problems. So that's the crazy of this. I've been waiting for one or two books to come that I'm supposed to get on Doll that they lost in the mail. So I'm like, oh, pissing me off. I haven't been able to do much reading. I was supposed to read something on war recently. We'll see what happens. I'm supposed to get something written. My real goal for this month is to finish my American Affairs article on nationalism. That's due April 1st. Finish just tweak my paper for my conference that's happening on April 2nd, April 3rd in the U.S. Yeah. And I owe someone a Huntington paper for my buddy at Minnesota. And I promised him I'd do it. I have something written. It needs a little tweaking. Then I have to really go through my edit of something, and I'm going to be angry at the edit because I think it's too long. And I'm going to say, "Oh fuck, I don't know. Why am I doing this? It's going to be just too long." My kind of review of the Egalitarian Envy book that I was supposed to get in December done, but I always got pissed off because the comments weren't useful. The comments weren't at all useful to corrections. So, whatever. And do I really want to publish it? European Conservative. I would like to have it published at European Conservative, but they were a little too snooty in the thing. They got. I think it was too long for them, and they didn't like it. The editors they wanted something new, and only because the editor-in-chief liked it, the theme, but he didn't really have the power to push against his editing team. So I don't know. It's a weird. So work-wise, I'm kind of like, yeah. And I need to get some of my Aristotle stuff done. I really should get that done. But that's that. You can tell by my voice, it's kind of still hasn't got kind of strong enough yet. So I didn't. We talked about politics. I rambled a little bit of Trump stuff. I don't really want to talk about that. Poland is kind of crazy right now. In many ways, the Trump speech in Poland. There's a very good thing by the Hudson Institute about democracy in Poland. That was good by the Hudson Institute. You can go check it online. That has a very good thing about what's the danger of what's going on, vindictive politics of this. And again, this is tied to the scandal, what happened with the discovery of U.S. aid assistant money being used to advocate in the Institute of Democracy, National Endowment for Democracy, and this Fund for Democracy funding articles and Journal of Democracy and otherwise, recommending to the new Polish government to basically arrest and prosecute and arrest the PIS leadership. It was shocking that U.S. government money, program money, was spent to fund such things. This was subversion, and I think, honestly, editors and things like that should be charged with interfering in Foreign Relations Act. Use the fucking democratic law during the Iran-Contra era, the Boland Amendment. Use the Boland Amendment as a weapon to start charging Democrat and liberal activists with interfering in foreign policy. This would be fun. This would be fun. Charge them with crimes under Boland. That would be good. I would like to really target all the left-wing activist NGOs and academics with foreign interference and interference in American foreign policy. First Amendment. No. You took the money. Sorry, you took the money. You took government money. You're activating. And label these people as agents. Fuck them over forever. Label them as agents. This is what I would do. I would just, anyone who took any of the USA, they would be labeled as agents, and they should be audited. The IRS should audit them and see where the money went and how they were doing. And if they're foreign nationals, then notify the country that they are, the government of that country, that they had U.S. money, that they were foreign. If they weren't listing themselves as a foreign agent in their country, they should be charged in their country as that thing. It's like, oh, you're going to endanger American soft power. No, this is actually going to doing this house cleaning is probably going to help American soft power out more immensely than there will be. I think it will do. Well, that's not even a big. There's not many. I think most of the gold is already in the Federal Reserve Board, moved in New York. That has been done. I think there's no gold. And if there's any gold at Fort Knox, it's long gone. Fort Knox is, the idea that it's gold in Fort Knox. I thought they moved it in the Federal Reserve. They moved it in the Federal Reserve Bank in New York in the 80s. I thought that was the thing I remember then. I don't really think there's any good gold bars. I think there's other things. There's other things at Fort Knox, like basically maybe some artworks and things held during the Nazi period, conquered or discovered during the Nazi period that was stored there. Gold, it used to be gold depository, but I think the amount of gold we had was moved into the Federal Reserve Bank in the 80s, if I remember correctly. So I don't really know what's going on. This idea that Fort Knox still has the gold, and that was long kind of. This is why conspiracy theorists say, well, what's in that? And that is maybe the gold is gone. Oh my God, the government stole the gold, or we have no gold. I mean, this is part of my kind of like, okay, gold standard nonsense. The gold standard is simply just a standard that was used at the time. It's not like, remember, if there's more gold, tomorrow if we find more gold, then gold is, if all of a sudden there's a huge super strike of gold someplace, the price of gold will diminish greatly. Supply demand, remember, it is a commodity, and that the only reason why it has value is its rareness. What happens if all of a sudden, this is why, in Yukon or development in Yukon, in places where there's all of a sudden there's a huge gold strike and there's we discover so much gold, or Moscow, Russia, the minerals in Russia, someplace that has not been really developed or interviewed gets an Arctic, and in the Arctic or the northern lands get explored and developed, and the next thing you have all of a sudden all this gold discovers, and oh my God, the value of gold goes down. And I think I would not trust the Russians with gold, because I suspect there is huge gold supplies that the Russians just don't play with. They know it exists, and they use it as a weapon that if it does become a mechanism to influence something, they would play it. As diamonds, what's happening with diamonds. Diamonds have lost their value because of technology. So we know. we can create diamonds more. We have the technology can do what naturally occurring diamonds are less perfect than the diamonds that are now created through the technological process, through steam plating and steam presses, not pressing. This idea that you can do things like that. So therefore, yeah, diamonds are definitely gamed in that sense. And that, in fact, this is what the problem with diamonds is, that how the developing world was flooded with diamonds in that sense. The so-called blood diamonds, right? The whole, that finances the war, finances the African conflict. So we'll see. My throat is dying, guys. So what is there to do? I got some people saying hi on me, saying that great, that's been great. But Corliss last week posted something about David Betts. I posted about Civil War. He interviewed at a Maiden Mother Matriarch's interview page. In reply to his thing, I posted the link to it, and I also posted a link to Betts's other speech in Hungary and the Danube Institute on war and warfare. So this is a very interesting. He's a guy, a war studies professor at King's College, and it's a very interesting argument. And I think Corliss is right to point to the Civil War thing. Again, I would say that what Betts talks about in the Civil War things is simply just repeating what Turchin and others have said about the nature of what Turchin and others have said about the likelihood of civil war in Britain and other places, because of elites and the elite problem and elite reproduction, overproduction of elites. And if someone asked me, do I read Costin's Selective Reading? Yeah, I did. It was a good, reading and philosophy. I was disappointed. It was a good dissertation. It was a good PhD dissertation. I know he edited a little bit to kind of spin it towards this idea, but it didn't really work in that sense. It needed the idea of the Platonic Republic, the Platonic situation, the breeding things. This is the critique of Plato in that sense. Required more argument. I'm not convinced that that's serious in Plato, in that sense. That I think the breeding thing is the point to the logic of the problem of the political, the problem of the numeric, that you could get a number, the numeric, in other words, the whole problem of the breeding model that he envisions in the Republic falls apart, and it falls apart because you cannot theorize or modelize the human in a certain way. That again, this is a difference between, and there's a fundamental difference in Plato and Aristotle here. So Kazin's Selective Reading book is a very good PhD dissertation. I'm just not convinced about. I think it's good about Plato, but if it's an argument about breeding, we have to see the limits to the argument from breeding. That this is not the ancient position. Aristotle was very suspect. This is the philosophy. This idea of this ideal regime that is talked about breeding. The Spartan principle taken to like the extreme points to a problem that even Aristotle criticizes. So Carson's book is a good book. It's a good read. I wish he edited more. It needed more work. Honestly, it's a good dissertation. It needed to be published at a university press. I understand he made a lot of money doing it, publishing it the way he did, because of the success of Bronze Age Pervert. Bronze Age mindset. Because of Bronze Age mindset made him so much money, there was an audience, and his podcast audience was willing to buy it, and therefore he published it this way so that it would sell. He would sell a couple thousand, 2,000, couple thousand copies. People bought it because they wanted to buy it because he wrote it. In many ways, I think more people bought it than read it. In this sense, the people who actually read it, and I think a lot of people read it weren't. A lot of people who read it really weren't capable of evaluating it. That's another problem about too. I think most of the people's readership wasn't really capable of totally honestly evaluating it. I think it should have been published at an academic press. Yes, a lot of people wouldn't have read it. I understand that. It would have been better edited. It would have had less technical errors that they plague it. Maybe some proofing would have caught it, and it would have been much. I think if a little bit of proofing on it would have made it a stronger case, and maybe someone pushing him on the make a stronger argument, or maybe at least give a hedge it, like the Baton, focus it on the Platonic problem. That this is a Platonic problem. This is the Platonic problem. This is the limits of the birth of philosophy in the Socratic sense is tied to this idea, right? The birth of the philosopher, not necessarily philosophy, but the birth of the rule of the philosophic regime depends on that, right? That's the whole crux of the city and speech, right? This is the account of the Republic. Now, is this a larger account in Plato at all? This is more problematic. I think this is a commentary on the Republic. It's more strictly, and the idea of the laws, as he goes into the laws. See, that's the problem. The laws also on the breeding question too. But less. It's a different question, and it goes in a different direction. So the Republic and the laws go in two different directions on the breeding question and the question. One ends up becoming it is clearly tied to there is this interconnection between the rise of the philosopher ruler and the breeding question, right? That is a key problem in the Republic in that sense. It becomes the nuptial number and the problems of the nuptial number and the breakdown of the marital equation leads us to the breakdown and corruption of the regime, right? That's the Republic. That's the crisis of that in the Republic. But in the laws, it's a different problem. It's still there, breeding and the characteristic of education of the children and the quality of the children and how they're going to be educated and how they're going to be developed is going to be the question. And this points to the question of the breeding intermarriage and the good, marital conditions in the laws. So I think this is why it was a very interesting book. I couldn't read. I mean, I read it. I originally read the dissertation when I knew about it. I bought the book at the copy, and when I was reading the book, it was a very difficult book to read. I really had a hard time reading the book because it just didn't grab my attention as much as I thought it would. Maybe I'm a boring person, right? Admittedly, I came to an English lit background, and I only did that. Yeah, exactly. This is most people are going to come to this with the problem with that. Well, that's it. I'm at my hour mark. Correlates. I hope Correlates gives me some stuff. I actually hope Correlates will. Correlates and I have been talked about something. And I've been hoping he will talk some more about the Democratic knot, because I have been a very bad boy. I have stopped. I didn't. I was going to. I have the knot, Democratic knot over here. I should spend some more time reading it, but I've been kind of derailed. Okay, this has been. The Democratic Nod is a very interesting book that I should say something about. I'm kind of pissed off that I'm also pissed off about Library Genesis being locked out these days. No, but that's neither here nor there. Well, that's it today. We'll see if Corlitz gives me a hang up and some things. I'd like to hear from Corlitz about his thing, some of the things he did about the theological political question. I hope to have a little. Someone gives me a nice topic. I might spend it on next week on it for guys and things. That's it. I'm supposed to be doing. I'm in my reading group. We're going to be doing Chaucer. My reading group, we're turning to Chaucer. I have to be a good boy and set up the classroom reading groups, things for the Chaucer group to finish it. But that's it. Well, take care and have a good day. Hope you guys like it. Hit the like button. If you don't do it, it helps their thing. We had a couple people here today, so we'll get more views probably over the time. I'm trying to think about doing a better day. Yeah, that's what we're doing with Canterbury Tales. Okay. My reading group that I'm part of, we just finished The Knight's Tale because we read Shakespeare's two. We just finished Shakespeare. We did the Shakespeare's Greek plays, and the last of the Greek play is the Two Noble Gentlemen, which is kind of a redo of The Knight's Tale. It's Shakespeare is putting into a play The Knight's Tale. Very interesting play. Now we're post this Saturday. We're doing Euripides. We're doing Euripides, the Suppliants, the Suppliant Woman, and we're hoping everything which is about one part of the problem. I think we went down a rabbit hole on that one. I think. No, it's not. There's not a connection there. Someone thought there might be because the plot was similar to that thing, but no, it's. But that's some of the things we're doing. So again, take care. Do you like any play? Yeah, I do like. I like. What's his name? There's a couple. 20. Okay, you asked me 20th century playwrights. Was it the American one, the Jewish American guy? What's his name? The one who wrote Glengarry Glen Ross. David Manet. David Manet is good as a playwright. Honestly, even Beckett. I don't. Edward Alice. I know. I have something over. I don't know where it is. It's hiding. It's over there. It's over here. It's the guy who wrote the screenplay for the play for Other People's Money. That's a great screenplay. That became a play that became a good screenplay. Samuel Beckett was decent, kind of weird-ish. Brecht is Brecht is both good and bad. So I mean, there's Václav Havel's plays. Some of the short stories and plays are actually pretty good. The Czech plays. So that's what I would know. I shut up. I'm over my time. I don't want to keep on going on this rabbit hole. Take care, people, and I will see you next week. And hope everyone has a good weekend. Take care and bye-bye. Have a good one.